Let's go.
Let's go. Dear listeners from PÜZZOL, for the first time in English, I'd like to say welcome to the newest episode of PÜZZOL for the second episode this year. But first, I would like to announce our guest from today. It's Dirk Jonker. Welcome, Dirk.
Welcome, Dirk.
Hey, thanks Jelle, thanks Gijs.
Can you tell a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Dirk. I'm a big math nerd in HR. I started with people analytics about 15 years ago. I live in Amsterdam, studied here as well. Actuarial science is like a branch of econometrics. And I am the CEO of Crunchr.
Wow. Okay, cool. So my next question is, we are doing this episode in English because it's good for us, of course, to practice our language skills, but you asked for it and we were glad to do so because we actually had it planned already. Absolutely. But why did you request to do it in English?
Well, I think analytics in HR is still a very much developing area, and everybody needs to have access to knowledge. That's one thing. And the second thing, if you look a bit more philosophical, then analytics is really about connecting people, connecting data.
Yeah, exactly.
So why not use a universal language that everybody understands?
Yeah.
We want to break down these silos, right? So if we do this in Dutch, then nobody else can understand this. So let's open up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what made you so interested in HR, Dirk?
Actually, I moved to the US about 15 years ago to New York City, and I helped large companies in transformations. And I was always interested in HR because the workforce are the people that make companies. The people are the ones that think about new products, do the innovation. It's not machines, but it's really the people. But at the same time, I also saw that the biggest capital that companies do not own, which is the workforce, so little was known about it. So when I moved to the US, I really got interested in, can we apply the same mathematical, elegant techniques to understand better people's behavior and to make a better connection between the plans of business and the ambitions of people. So that was basically my start in analytics in HR.
Oh, really cool. Can you give us a brief explanation? What is HR data exactly?
Yeah, maybe see HR data as the DNA trail of people and organizations. So how does it all started? How did it all become important? Well, in companies, smaller and bigger ones, you need processes, to help develop, select, pay people. And they work in an organization structure. So there's processes. These processes were managed in systems. These systems and processes generated data points. So for example, your salary today is 10, your salary next year is 12. Hey, we got a 20% salary increase. So the processes started to generate data, and with the access to business intelligence tooling, we started to activate these data points. And now the data becomes really important because it's basically the thermometer inside an organization as long as you use it well.
Hey, and so you're talking about your own company. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How the hell did you start a company in the US?
Well, the US is basically the perfect storm to start a company. And at the time, it was also the perfect storm because this was like 2006, 2007, 8. It was when the financial crisis was developing. And huge companies had very big questions like, hey, how can we still retain the best people? We need to reduce costs by 30, 40%. Where are we going to get it? Are we going to outsource this part to that part of the world? Yes or no? So huge questions. That was one thing. The second thing is that Americans love data. So don't come to a boardroom meeting with like, hey, they will slap you in the face. They will be like, where's the data? Where's the evidence? So there is always a big need and trust in data. And the third one is that companies have so much data they sit on and they don't use, especially back then. So I basically saw the connection between the big questions, the trust in data, the need for data, and the data that was there. And to me, it was only connecting the dots.
Yeah.
So that later became Crunchr.
Yeah, you're saying, Dirk, that there was a lot of data inside those companies, but they didn't use it. Was it because a lack of knowing of the technology, or was it something else?
Yeah, excellent question, Jelle. I think the biggest problem is that you can have a lot of data and you can have big questions, but if you don't know how to connect big questions to the data that you have, then you will never really use it, or you will use it to a very small extent. So what I really like is, to cook with all the available data ingredients and create new dishes. So you really listen carefully to what the business is worried about, not what HR is worried about, because HR is just there to serve the business. But what the business is worried about, or what they're contemplating, what they're thinking, what the new strategy is. And then you basically look on your shoulder and you see all these beautiful data laid out, and then you start to make the connections.
Yeah.
So that's basically cooking in HR. That's the most important thing, and also quite fun to do.
Yeah, you're saying they love data in the US, Dirk. Do you see any differences between loving data in the Netherlands?
Yeah, actually, yes. So in the US, bringing data to the table is really important. And here in the Netherlands, it's coming, but people also still very much trust experience and gut feel, onderbuikgevoel. And I think the truth is in the middle, because often I believe that your instinct is always right and the data can support it. That's one thing. And the second thing is that data analytics can help you to find things that you could have never seen without, smart technology that we have today. So you cannot disregard instinct, but you need to, sugarcoat the instinct a bit with very clear data points to make the story more powerful. If you have a company of thousands of people and you really spend hundreds of millions of euros on people and organization, then gut feel is nice, but you want to have some data to really understand what is happening with people and organization.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
for example, if Schiphol is thinking about building an extra runway, or if the city of Amsterdam or Rotterdam is thinking about building a tunnel, do you know how many business cases need to be created, and how many stacks of paper and how many financial models are being created? It's crazy, but it's needed because you make big decisions. And in HR, in companies, people spend millions and millions and millions of euros every single day. So yes, intuition is nice, but you better have your data ready.
Which tools do you use at Crunchr, Dirk? Or is it something we cannot ask?
Confidential.
Oh, you can ask anything and everything. I don't have any business secrets for anyone. So we build everything ourselves. And the reason is that in the US, and when I came back to the Netherlands, I still used, Excel and Tableau and in the early days Power BI. And it is nice to start, but the moment that you really start to do some nicer modeling, for example, employee turnover over time, then it really becomes difficult to do this in generic tools. So we decided when we started to build this enterprise platform to build everything ourselves from scratch for really high performance and customization.
Yeah. And so when I checked out your website, I saw that you are working are you working for? I'm not sure, for pretty big companies in the Netherlands, for example, the Rabobank, big Dutch bank, but also for Akzo Nobel. I can imagine that before you got Crunchr started working for them, you could see big improvements since you guys started.
So of course I cannot speak to specific clients, but
of course.
But in general, the starting point for most companies is that they build something themselves in Tableau, in Power BI, in Excel, in whatever tool, in ClickView. And that in the beginning, they could do what they wanted, but then authorizations came in their way. Like, hey, you can see this, but you cannot see this part. Or audits came into the way. Like, hey, that the audit department said, like, show me everyone who got access to these data points. Well, oops, we don't drop that. Or the moment that you start to add more functionality, it becomes really slow. And to a moment where you have a few people in HR just maintaining a tool. Well, this is not the work of HR. So the thing that we saw for most companies is to replace their homegrown tools, which help them to understand what they're looking for. We replace it with the Crunchr workforce reporting and people analytics technology. And then basically we give access in a very secure and a very fast way to everybody who needs access. And then the fun starts. Then we start to do projects with them. Like, hey, okay, so now we have access to all these data, all these insights. Now let's focus on the business. So for example, business is growing here, it's automating here. What is the impact for our recruiting policy? Or we have difficulties attracting technical talent. What can we do about it? Or we see a lot of people leaving the company within the first 12 months after hire. What's the problem? How big is this problem? What are the options? So it's click, 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 and there you have your answers. So those are the things that we typically do.
Cool. So you've been working with a lot of big companies. I saw them on your website, and that is really cool. But how can HR data improve smaller companies that don't have millions to spend or don't have like thousands of people inside their company? How can they use data analysis?
I think exactly in the same way. So also if you have a company of 200, 300, 400 people, you also have questions on like, how happy are these people? During Corona, during COVID-19 times, do we see absenteeism increase or decrease? What are the skills that we need to work on today in order to be successful tomorrow? So the questions are exactly the same. The only difference is that the HR teams of smaller companies, they don't have indeed a lot of money to spend on professional HR teams, but they still have the same reporting questions. So we also work for them. And have a more dedicated version of the product.
Okay.
I also was curious. What are your experiences right now with the average HBO student and their level of combining data to virtual solutions?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do see a big difference between the HR professionals who have been in business for like 20, 30 years, and between the HR professionals who just joined the workforce. The people who just joined the workforce cannot imagine that you don't have these insights readily available.
Yeah.
So you become a junior HR business partner, and the business leader is talking about, oh, we're losing so many people. Then the first question that you have is, okay, show me the statistics. Where's my dashboard? I need it. That's a natural reflex.
But isn't that something for something like a level of university? Because I'm asking this because my brother is studying econometrics. Is that the English word for econometry?
Yeah.
He's studying econometrics at Erasmus.
Yeah.
And last year I had some troubles with HR data, and I asked him, "Can you help me to connect those points to solutions?" And he was looking at the file, and he was like, "Geez, this is so easy." And I was like, okay, why is it for me so hard, and is it for him so easy? But
but be careful, because basically an HR professional of the future can use data, but also knows how to design solutions. So for you, it might be challenging to organize the data, to set up a database, to make the calculations. But for him, it might be very difficult to see we have a very high turnover and how to reduce the turnover. Econometricians don't know how to do it, but that's exactly what you know how to do.
We should.
Exactly. So that's why we need analytics in the most simplest form to create a universal language so that the econometricians and the HR professionals can work together to basically, what I would wish for HR professionals of the future is that there is a system that basically constantly scans for opportunities and scans for risks, and then basically flag these to you, where you say, okay, I know how to solve these problems, but I need to know where I can make the most impact.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
in the perfect world, the econometric guys will deliver all the numbers and all the data, and the HR guys will deliver the
That's
solutions.
exactly. That's what we're here for, Yale.
Exactly. So you guys are incredibly important because without solutions, HR data analytics is nothing.
Yeah, cool. Hey, and Dirk, so again, like you work with a lot of big companies, and I mean, you see how they work and what they do exactly. If you would have to think of one thing that they should definitely improve, or that can be used for for universities or colleges, what would that be?
What I think is that over the last 3-4 years, most companies experimented with analytics in HR. So this could be HR analytics, people analytics, workforce analytics, three different things. Companies experimented with this, but some companies keep stuck in this experimentation phase. So they keep building stuff themselves. While what we just discussed, HR professionals are perfect and are very well equipped to solve problems. They are maybe not the best people to build these solutions. So the HR leader of the future recognizes that you need some kind of system technology to show exactly where HR can make the biggest impact. But leave building the technology to professionals. So either to IT teams, to us, to competitors, doesn't matter. But focus on the solutions. That's really important because there is a big responsibility for HR. Again, they're spending millions and millions every single day. Every single day.
Yeah.
And do they show any return on investment? So it's time to take responsibility and show, basically, maybe a bit the American way that we started off with. Numbers need to be present at the boardroom. Otherwise, you still do not make any impact.
So that, I think that is really something that we can learn from the Americans, right? So we have our facts ready.
Yeah.
What can the Americans learn from us? From
a lot. I can think right now, American people can learn a lot from us right now.
No, but I mean company-wise.
Yeah. So company-wise, I think to build a bit more sustainable relationships between businesses and people. So why can you make big impact with data in the US? Well, because I can tell you tomorrow, here's your box, why don't you leave?
Yeah.
And what I personally prefer is to have a bit more long-term durable relations between businesses and people, because you need each other.
Exactly.
And rebuilding cultures takes years. Rebuilding new skills and competencies, it takes years. So a bit more sustainable human interaction, I would say. Yeah. So maybe bring the human side to the HR data analysis.
I think there must be a good way of working together with Crunchr and taking Rabobank, for example. Are you also working on the level of working with HR data on employees at the companies right over there? And do they improve their HR data skills?
Yeah, so the people who are using Crunchr are often in the HR department. So basically, the thing that we try to do with Crunchr is, you have your mouse.
Yeah.
Just scroll down, and the right questions appear, and the answer is right below. So for the end users, we really try to educate them to become comfortable with data points. Whenever they see a metric, for example, the high potential talent turnover is 12.4%, you can click and you see the names of those people. Yeah. You need to build trust and love with data. On the employee level, we have survey technology, actually little games that the employees play to show, basically to indicate what they find important in their work and in their career. So do they really find it important to have the highest salary, or do they prefer career opportunities?
Exactly.
And so we do tons of surveys with larger companies to really calculate the employee value proposition, for example.
All right. And so you guys basically give them all the the results that they need, give them all the answers. No, answers, that's a better word. But then you have, like, for example, Yale, you talked about Rabobank.
Yeah.
For example, then they have the answers, but then there is a HR employee. Are you also talking with them? Okay, how are you gonna work it out, or are you just giving them the answers, and then they have to figure out how they are gonna adjust them in the company?
Well, again, I cannot speak to specific clients, but
Of course.
Larger companies have very, very professional people analytics teams. So they say, as long as you give us access to these insights, we can design programs to improve business results. So every large company has a dedicated leader for people analytics.
Exactly, and I think that is an important topic that, of course, we want to discuss during this podcast as well, because we're making this podcast. I mean, we're making it basically for everyone who's interested in HR topics, but we are HRM students and we are studying for it. And so what we have, our school system, we work with different core competent. Damn it, I forgot how to pronounce the word.
Core competencies.
Exactly, thank you. So what it is, like, we have 6 of them, and HR data analysis is the 6th, and it's always like kind of the forgotten one, the one that is, people don't really like them, teachers don't really know what to do with them, and usually now it's filling in an Excel form, make a very short and small analysis about an interview, like several interviews.
Like a missed opportunity.
Exactly. So my question would be, how could we, how could my education, how could they improve this? How could they help me become a pro in HR data analysis?
Yeah. So the tip that I have for your school and for your teachers is basically that core competency number 1 is to embrace HR technology, to embrace HR data, to become better and informed HR professionals. And I think it's about 3 things. It's about really understanding the business relevant questions and connected to those data points.
Yeah.
So if you do a consulting for a business leader who is worried about workforce cost, that they're spending too much and that the revenue is coming down, then you should already think like, okay, so 70% of what a company spends is on people, 70% of that is in base pay. How flexible is this base pay? So you need to start thinking, as this person is starting to talk, on what kind of data points do you see and how can you connect the problem to the data. The second thing is you need to know a bit about how to organize your data in order to use it. And the third thing is, of course, that you really understand on what you can and what you cannot do with data. And this is in Dutch the AVG and in English the GDPR. So it should become core competency number 1 to make love with HR technology and HR data, to empower. So what we do a lot is at schools is we have an education version of Crunchr, which schools and companies can use. We make a lot of games, so realistic simulation games in the data set, and then students from HBO, from a professional education to MBA students are using Crunchr to solve realistic questions using data without them needing to understand how to build formulas or how to build databases, because leave that to the IT folks.
Exactly.
It's really your task to connect business problems to the art of the possible of HR data.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Do you have anything to add? Okay.
And I think HR data should be one of the main topics later on in the study, or maybe in the second year.
Yeah.
Is there something like a program for a week you could set out at Avans, Dirk?
Yeah, what we can do is, why don't you guys arrange a meeting with the head teacher, you and me, and then we can think about maybe a guest lecture with a super cool interactive workshop or something. Happy to do so.
That would be so cool. I mean, I'm sure, because we had a survey that we spread through our listeners, and we asked them, hey, we are wondering what are some topics that you guys are interested in. Mm-hmm. And some of them said HR data analysis. Mm-hmm. So there are questions for it, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of students will be very interested, and they can be much more motivated to get into the data analysis. So I'm sure there are some teachers listening. They will have to. I mean, they cannot skip it anymore. They have to face the fact that it's just important.
Let's do it. Let's wake them up. Let's shake them up. Let's go. Yeah.
Great. Well, Dirk, thank you. Thank you for working with us, for joining this episode for our PûZZOL podcast. And
thank you
amazing.
For giving me some podium, but also to what you do for the students, because the new HR professional of the future, the one that embraces people data analytics, starts here. It starts at your school. So thanks what you do for the future HR professional.
Well, I think I am glad to. I'm sure, Yael, you are too, right?
I agree.
Nice.
Awesome.
So, listeners, thank you again. Hope you guys enjoyed it. At least we did very much. Very glad and very happy to do it in English. Just follow us on Spotify. Check us out. We're going to post it with the video on YouTube. And follow us on LinkedIn. Follow the hashtag PûZZOL. And we hope you enjoyed the episode. And see you guys in 2 weeks.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Bye, guys.